I could.
Honestly, if I take the chords out of it, I could probably do it better.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's gigs they barely pay. Lost my home address and bottles where I'm found. Give me some rock, got whiskey off the bottom shelf. Can't afford the crown.
Fucking hey.
Boys, we're out here doing it big.
Doing it big.
I'm about to go retweet it.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. Man, it's been a fucking long road to record with a wee mic. I got the... bothering me. Yeah. It's like what that room.
Oh, baby, I like it raw.
So quiet.
Yeah, baby, I like it raw.
Oh, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Shimmy, shimmy, y'all, shimmy, yam, shimmy, yam. I hate it. So we gotta get it done now. What have you been doing? Tally dicking around. Yeah. So fucking let's knock it out. Alright, everybody move.
Everybody move.
You gotta go quick, man.
It's the back that's got to be quick.
Yeah, I know. I just thought about that. Okay.
Cocktail, vodka and ginger ale. Gonna smoke me a cigarette that's 9 miles long. Gonna take that pretty girl on the tilt-a-whirl. Well, this old man is going to town. When I get to heaven, that's a fucking dope-ass song.
This. All right, so I guess we can go ahead and say who are we with right now?
This would be Zach Welch.
Zach Welch, the Zach Welch, recording artist, songwriter, singer, all of the above.
Yeah.
All right.
Raging degenerate, and etc.
Exactly. So, new album recently came out, Punchy Shirts Broken Hearts.
Oh, yeah.
So, how do you feel about this album? How do you think it turned out in your opinion?
I'm proud of it, man. It was a lot of doing went into it. It was and I was really happy with the outcome of it. Even though I'm kind of my own biggest critic, so when I was listening to it for the first time before Ethan got on there and did his magic on it, I was like, oh, I sound like an asshole. But whenever he showed me the final product of it, I was like, oh shit, man, we got something good here. So
yeah, definitely. A whole lot of the processing and back end can really make the song. It's you sit here and you have each part. The singing part that you record, and then the guitar part that you record. But once you hear it all come together, that's really when the puzzle is a picture at that point.
yeah, because when you go and you play a show and you're out there in front of people, and people are shooting pool and yelling, getting rowdy and whatnot. You're not really too worried about what you're doing up there. It's kind of just you get back, you do what you do all the time, and it's just it's like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Just a habit.
Yeah.
You just get up there and you do it and everything works out. But when you're recording and it's just you in a room with like 2 other people or whatever, and everybody's just staring at you, you're like, oh, don't fuck up. So anytime you do anything, you're like, oh, I had to have fucked up right there. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and I think you can definitely see that in your face sometimes on this video.
Yeah, I'm very obvious with whatever I'm feeling at any given time.
Right. So, you mentioned playing shows for a live audience versus, recording. So there is a big difference, kind of that whole energy that you get from a crowd and you yelling and screaming on stage to the recording process.
Yeah.
So from your first album, 254 Days, to now, Punchy Shirts Broken Hearts, how have you been able to kind of deal with the emotions of that anxiety of recording? Has it kind of been the same, or has it been a little bit better for you?
There was a build up, because when we first started, when we recorded 254 Days, it really wasn't that nerve-wracking because it was just me and Ethan and nobody was ever going to hear it. Ethan wanted to record stuff and I wanted to sing songs, and so we were going to practice with each other to maybe one day do it. Well, then when the quarantine came around, we were just like, fuck it, put it out, you know. And so I never really was all that nervous in the studio, but then when we got, you know, some people started listening and I started getting messages from people that I'd never met before being like, hey man, I love your music, you know, when are you going to put more out? We're like, oh shit, well, let's put more music out. And then our equipment had been, we'd upgraded a lot of stuff, so in my mind it became a lot more pressure. And so for the first couple of songs when we were recording it, I was terrified. I was just like shaking nervously, and then I was like, man, now there's people, like, my name's actually a thing, like people know who I am, so if I suck, they're like, this guy sucks, like why couldn't he do what he did last time? And but as we recorded and as we kind of went on with it, I got more comfortable in that position to where I was like, you know, this really ain't too bad. And Ethan's really good at his job, and of course we brought Parker in, and Parker's an absolute killer. And so I was like, man, even if I suck, this album's going to be pretty decent. Yeah, because we're going to have some killer. Oh, there's me hitting a swig of something there in the background.
Getting some liquid inspiration.
So I guess if you're asking how I calm the nerves, we've established they're still there. That's how I go and find something out of the freezer and then I take it to the face.
Yeah, it's nicotine and cigarettes and alcohol.
Yeah, just cigarettes and booze, because I can't. I would smoke pot. Everybody tells me that'll take the edge off of things, but I just go to sleep, so I don't.
Yeah, it's totally understandable. So, you know, you mentioned working with Ethan and working with Parker Ryan. So how was it having, you know, bringing in somebody else to be a, you know, kind of main force? Because, I mean, are there any songs on this album that Parker wasn't some part of?
I think he was involved in every single one of them. He played guitar on all of them except for Scumbag and Drunken Ramblings of a Hopeless Romantic. Okay. And I played the guitar on those because when we were singing them, there was like, this isn't a country song. This is like some like acoustic punk rock shit. Yeah. So we'll get the guy who's not that good at guitar to get on there and beat it up, you know, to make it more realistic. And so yeah, I played guitar on that, but I think he even played lead on both of them, I think. Yeah. And then he played on The Poet, which Ethan wrote. I didn't even have anything to do with. He just wrote it and told me he wrote a song based off of me. and Parker came and played guitar on that, and then put that nasty ass solo in it. Yeah. But yeah, it's kick-ass working with Parker, and I consider Parker a great friend, and obviously me and Ethan have known each other since we were small children, you know, so, I mean, we're just a big old happy fucking family.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Parker, he is definitely talented on guitar. Even, I think, the best guitar players that are on your level that have been doing it for as long as you still are years and years and leagues below Parker. I don't know, he was just...
dude's just a prodigy. Some cats can just, like, they pick it up and they get it. Yeah. And I think he did.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so, also just working with Ethan, you know, like you said, y'all have had a long history together. You know, being friends and partners in crime before all this music even came. So how has it been moving from being just a couple dudes hanging out drinking to, oh, we actually have something here. It's let's record.
It's a beautiful thing when it's over, and there's beautiful moments in there. But it's a lot less stressful when we were just, you know, a couple dudes drinking and hanging out, because he obviously takes a lot of pride in his work, and since me and him are good buddies, and since me and him started this shit kind of together, you know, we're always wanting the other one to do better and keep being better. And so, you know, we butt heads pretty regularly when we're doing recording, and when we're talking about how we should go about putting out music and how we should go about doing this and that and the other thing. And so, you know, you've seen it. We'll get all crossed, but But I mean, at the end of the day, we're still buddies. I'll still kiss him on the forehead before I leave, even if that forehead's fucking red with that vein beating out the top of it. You know, that's still my boy. So we're still. It's a beautiful thing. It's just, you know, brothers fight.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And when it's something that, you know, there is so much potential and there are so many eyes on you, you know.
And we're both really passionate about stuff, and really we're both passionate about the music thing, and, you know, he wants me to succeed, I want him to succeed, and but we're different people. We have different ways of going about stuff, and so sometimes he'll be like, man, we got to do this. I'm like, man, I don't know about that. We should do this. And he's like, no, I don't. That. And next thing you know, we're just hollering at each other from across the room, and then we're like, somehow, some way, we'll come up with a compromise. We're like, why didn't we think of that an hour and a half ago? Now we got to clean up the whole apartment.
Yeah, it sounds like a normal male relationship, you know, kind of just hot-headed and hard.
Yeah, you know, it starts out, it's like, man, I disagree, I think we could do something better, and it's like, well, I disagree too, and then like 30 seconds later, it's like, well, how about I just beat your fucking ass?
Yeah, well, luckily nothing has ever gotten to that point, but I just think...
Just a couple wrestling matches.
Yeah. So what really was the inspiration behind, you know, not only the title Punchy Shirt and Broken Hearts, but, you know, kind of the inspiration between the songs that were on this album?
Well, Punchy Shirts and Broken Hearts was really a joke after 254 Days came out, because I was working with this guy, and he called me over one day. And I thought he might have needed help with something or something like that. And he goes, man, you play guitar and shit, right? I said, yeah. And he goes, you go on like stage, huh? I said, yeah. He goes, you wear crazy shit when you go up on stage? And I was like, not really, man. And he goes, man, I got this shirt, it's punchy as hell. And I'm really not very cowboy. And so I was like, man, punchy, that's a funny-ass word.
Yeah.
And he gave me this shirt, and it was a punchy-ass shirt. And so when I showed up to play a gig, and Ethan was with me, he said something about Punchy Shirts and Broken Hearts. And we're like, that's the name of the next album. And I had a couple songs left over from 254 Days that I just hadn't finished quite in time. And so, like, Lily's song, you know, it was kind of, you know, when all the shit hit the fan in my personal life, for 254 Days, I had all these songs about, you know, wanting to start a shotgun and all that good stuff. And then I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, really the worst part about it, really the only part that I give a shit about, is I lost my dog. And so Lily's song came about, and I bet I've only played that song live like 4 times, because that's the broken heart part of it.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the song that makes me tear up every time it comes on. I gotta skip it most of the time whenever I have to listen to it. Yeah, and that's what I thought too. You know, just me personally knowing you, and as well as, you know, listening to the songs and seeing this process, I think of 254 Days as kind of that's where rock bottom was hit, and that's where the pure kind of just brokenness came out of you. Excuse me. And I think with Punchy Shirt and Broken Hearts, it's still kind of a little bit of the residual, you know, heartache and sadness, and whether you want to chalk it up to you just not having songs finished, I think it's also a progress of you in your life, but also you're getting back on it and you're saying, fuck you, I'm having fun. This is a good time, you know.
Well, yeah, and that was...
And you're finding love and you know, happiness in your life.
And Lily's song is the example I use, because I started writing that song while 254 Days was being recorded, but really it wasn't finished. It was about halfway finished, and I went back and changed a bunch of stuff, because 254 Days... Even Damn Good Time was like, I wrote it and made it sound happy so my mom wouldn't check me into therapy when she heard it, because she is like, because I was really just writing like, man, I am fucking up in life, everything is terrible, but I'll fake a smile. Yeah. And then so everything on 254 Days was written from rock bottom, and then and then Punchy Shirts and Broken Hearts, I was in a better place mentally and emotionally, and so I kind of I wrote, there's a couple of sad ones on there, but it's kind of from a different place to where it's like, it's going to be all right. It's actually going to be all right. I'm not just trying to pretend that it's going to be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely think that, comes out through your music. You can definitely tell a different vibe and just kind of attitude with all the songs from this album to your previous one. So, each artist and each songwriter has their own different ways of kind of creating their art and coming up with it. So walk me through a process of, maybe coming up with one of the songs on this album.
Okay, well, then I'll touch on Drunken Ramblings because that's my personal favorite song off the album because it's the only love song I've ever written, and because, I'm sure I've told you this story 1,000 times because I'll tell it to anybody who will listen, but one time I was hanging out with some friends of mine, and we were hanging out in some dude's living room, and they were all smoking pot and hanging out, and they ran out of weed, and they were waiting for the dealer to show up, and he showed up, and he saw we were all playing guitars, and he's like, oh, man, I got my guitar in the truck, and for some reason, you can never tell the dope man no, so he goes and gets his guitar, and comes in there and he's like, you want to hear a song I wrote? And we're like, yeah, man, sure. And he starts playing this beautiful, classical guitar, and he's just finger picking, and it sounds really nice and real pretty. And he starts singing in German, and I had no idea what he was saying, and he
that's pretty badass.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was killer. But he started singing, and he made it through 3.5, 4 minutes of the song. I don't know how long it was supposed to be because it didn't seem like it was over. But then again, I don't speak German, and so he's getting to what feels like the halfway point of the song, and then he stops playing and just starts blubbering, just tears rolling down his face. And, I was 17 or whatever. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this guy? And he goes, never write a song for a woman. And he proceeds to tell us this story about how he lived in Germany for a year, and he met this chick, and they fell in love, and he wrote a song on her, and wrote a song about her, and then he found her, in bed with some other German or something. I don't remember how the story ended exactly. I was sitting in a room of just pure pot smoke for a couple hours, so it was a little hazy, but I remember that much of it. And
so he lost his lady, and now
lost his lady. And he
sings that song.
Never write a song about a woman because it'll break your heart. And so I didn't forever. And then you meet a woman who deserves a song, so you're like, yeah, what does that guy know? He was hanging out in a living room with a bunch of 17-year-olds. I don't need to take his advice.
Right, yeah.
And so I did, and I wrote a song for a woman, and works out. Now if she dumps me, I'm going to sound like an asshole, but until then, it's all good, and I love that song, and I thought I wanted to write a love song, and but I didn't want it to be super sappy and kind of come from a place that wasn't genuine, because, I'm not a very sappy dude. And so I just wrote about shit that I talk about all the time, If I ever get the opportunity, I will buy a wrestling ring, and I'll be acting a fool in it. And if I get super old and I'm like, yeah, man, start crossing shit off the bucket list, I'm going to shoot up. I'm going to try it. Why not,
Yeah, everything in that song has been things that you've consistently said to both me and other people who have known you for decades plus.
Right.
It's definitely true to you. So
and it's like, do I know they're stupid ideas? Absolutely. And it's like, but was falling in love a stupid idea? Nah, fuck no.
Right.
And when I wrote it, I was drunk, so it was Drunken Ramblings of a Hopeless Romantic.
It
just it was.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. So you say that you were drunk when you wrote it. So you get the inspiration. You find this woman that you want to write a song about. And so you have the idea, you have the inspiration. So then what is the next step? You get drunk and just sit down, bang it out in one session, or?
I've never written a song on purpose, really. All the songs that I've written on purpose sucked. But it was when it snowed everywhere, and we were all snowed in back in, was that February? Mm-hmm. And
Snowpocalypse 2021.
Yeah, and she was at the house, and we had been dragging sleds behind the truck all day, and hanging out. And of course, we're not a whole lot to do. It's a Wednesday. You're snowed in. You can't do nothing. So what do? You tie one on. And so we'd been hanging out, drinking, acting a fool all day. And then night came down, and she fell asleep, and I was just sitting there, kind of playing my guitar and just, trying to pass the time, and I got this kind of idea. I was like, this is the happiest I've been maybe in my life, and I was trying to figure, I was like, because I've had days off work before, and I've been drunk before, and I've done dumb shit before. I was like, what's the difference? And I looked, and there's this chick just fucking snoring, and I was like, that's the difference. And so I wrote the song, and I wrote it, and when I started it, it was like a little sappy, because I was a little in my feels, anyway, getting all emotional and shit. And I was like, man, I can't find words that rhyme when I'm being sappy. And so I just started kind of just going off the dome and I wrote it, just the words. I set my guitar down entirely because I wanted it to be like an old George Strait love song or something, nice and slow, maybe waltz to it or some shit. Mm-hmm. I set the guitar down and just wrote the words that came to my head as they came out, and I did one shot, just wrote the whole thing, and
there you go.
And then I was like, well, how am I going to play this slow? And I was like, this is a punk rock song, man. You don't play this slow. So I played it fast, and it worked out. And I played it in one take. I wrote it in one shot, and I was like, I called Ethan. I said, hey, I got a new song. Yeah. He's like, right on. I was like, it's a love song. He's like, he's like, it's not sappy, is it? I was like, no, not at all. It's beautiful.
No, it's punk rock. I don't think there's a thing that you could do that isn't going to have some sort of punk rock influences into it. I mean, that's just who you are to your core. You are punk rock, And so it's kind of, all at once. It just kind of comes to you.
Yeah, I just word vomit out songs. That's why I don't have that many. Some people like, I mean, a bunch of my friends can sit down and they're like, I want to write a song today. What do I want to write a song about? I want to write a song about fucking, doing a kickflip. And they'll write a song about doing a kickflip, and they'll hear the lead guitar in the background and all that, and they can do it and do research into what would make the song about the kickflip make sense and whatnot. And I can't do that. It'll take me 6 months, and I'll get a line. Yeah. And so I don't write songs until it hits me in the head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, there can be good things and bad things to that. For you as a business and as an artist, I'm sure it's difficult to not be able to just sit down and write whatever you want.
Right, yeah.
But also every piece that you do put out and every song that does come out, you can genuinely and truly say that, like, this is me. This is how I feel. This is the truth. This is the realness that what I am and what I'm going through. And I think, that's definitely something to commend, because, I mean, each artist is going to be different in their process. I mean, there's no two exhibits in a museum that are going to be the exact same.
And there's no right way to do it, and there's no wrong way to do it. It's just how does it work for you? Mm-hmm. It's just however you can make your art a thing, do it. And that's kind of, and I love the way that I do it. It makes me mad if I'm feeling creative, but I don't have anything to say, really. Yeah. It's aggravating, because I'm like, I have a song up here, I just can't get it out. Yeah. But I do love, when we released the Punchy Shirts and Broken Hearts, and I got messages from people, all over the place, and some of them were like really well thought, really well worded, very like sophisticated sounding messages, like, we think that you're a very lovely musician, and all that good stuff, and I was really appreciated. But then I'd get a message from some 19, 20-year-old kid in Missouri or some shit that was like, bro, you fucking rock, thanks for not bullshitting us, and nothing was spelt right. And that was what meant the most to me. He's like, this one dude sent me a message, and he was like, bro, like, I understand what you're talking, like, you speak right to me, man. Like, he's like, I get so down, and I just, like, want to fucking, just end it, but, like, your music is just, and I was like, no shit, dude. I was like, man, if my music can help you in any way, shape, or form, I'll keep doing it forever, and hopefully we can all get to a point where bad shit doesn't have to happen to us, per se, for us to write about it. But it's like, if I have to be the one to eat the bullet to say some shit that means something to somebody, then fucking I'll eat a bowl of them.
It's awesome that you're able to take your feelings and emotions and put that out in this creative outlet and be able to then evoke emotion from other people that you may or may not ever meet at all. But just because y'all are going through the same stuff and you can relate, you have that out there for these people to kind of relate to with. So that's definitely very commemorable. So you have had, has there been a whole lot more kind of buzz and pop from this album than 254 Days?
Yeah, 254 Days, and I'll always love 254 Days, and it's still getting a little bit more recognition as time goes on, but I think that's kind of what happens. The more people you reach, they're going to see your new shit, and they'll see you have older stuff, and they'll go back and look at it, and some people will be like, well, the production on this isn't as good as his newer stuff. Well, no shit. We recorded 254 Days halfway with a Wii mic.
Yeah. It's definitely a big progression between it.
Yeah, we recorded it with a $100 guitar and a Wii mic.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? But
and it still jams.
Yeah, and people are still hitting me up, and it's like, man, I just listened to A Damn Good Time for the first time. And that was, I was like, oh, cool, man. I'm glad you like it. And the only thing that we've put out that I wasn't incredibly proud of was the demo version of In Our Bed, and that was just because I was on I got put on antidepressants, and nobody told me that it was going to make me feel weird for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And so I just took them and then went to record, and I was just a zombie. Yeah. I was like, oh, that sucks. And so that was the only one that I'm not like, that I wouldn't just die on that hill. Like, but everything else I'm super proud of. And like on Punchy Shirts and Broken Hearts, I think some of them songs are really good, and I think that they from what I've seen, it meant a lot to a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And I'm happy to just play wherever I can play, and if I got to work a day job for the rest of my life, then that's what's got to go down. I ain't too worried about all that. But if one person hits me up every time I put out an album and says, hey man, this song meant this to me, then I just secured another album. I'll put them out.
Yeah, well, I definitely think, your songs are very relatable, and because you aren't, just sitting there and, hitting a random button to find a topic and then, looking up alliterations to make it rhyme for that specific topic, all of these things are coming deep from what you are and what you're feeling, and people can really relate to that, and people can really tell that through this music, that it's real and raw, and it's not... There ain't no cookie that's been cut this way. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think the best way to do anything is to do it truthfully. You can only get so far bullshitting, and I might never get that far telling the truth, but I'd rather tell the truth and have 1,000 people listen to my shit than write a bunch of songs I don't like that don't mean anything to me or nobody else and go play a big stadium tour or whatever, Right. I ain't worried about that. I want to be there for people who the music means something to them, And if one day I write a song that means something to me and the music of it's catchy or some shit and everybody's just playing it on the boat, then great. But if not, and all my shit's just kind of depressing or kind of, more folky than anything else, and that's just what it is, and the only people who like my music are like these music nerds, then fucking get after it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the song... You can hear so many different kind of elements of different genres with your music, whether it be the lyrics or the vocals or the backing or lead guitar or any sort of thing. So what really are maybe the genres or the kind of, artists that have defined the sound of Punchy Shirts and Broken Hearts, this album?
Man, I don't know, because there's a bunch of them, I kind of, when I write some songs, and it's been pointed out to me that Enough sounds a bit like Lady May by Tyler Childers, and I knew that when I wrote it, when I played it through the first time, and I tried so hard to make it sound like something else, and every time I changed the chords, I changed the keys, I changed the rhythm and everything else, and the timing of it all. And I was like, man, this is just how this song was supposed to sound.
Yeah.
And I was like, it is what it is. There's a bunch of songs that sound the same. And so, but, I listen to a lot of Tyler Childers, so he's got to be, whether I know it or not, there's definitely that influence there. But, I kind of draw the same influences for everything that I do. I got my heroes, I got like Chris Christopherson, Billy Joe Shaver, and then I got like Drive By Truckers and the old 97s, like Patterson Hood and Rhett Miller, like they're on that's probably my Mount Rushmore of songwriting. Chris Christopherson, Billy Joe Shaver, and then Patterson Hood and Rhett Miller. And so that's kind of where I try to draw a lot of it. But with Scumbag and Drunken Rambling's the one that I played guitar on, I drew a lot of influence from the riot folk or the folk punk or whatever the real name for it is. But I was
acoustic punk.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of Tom Frampton. There's a dude named AJJ, and then like Against Me, the ones who sing "Baby, I'm an anarchist." Yeah, that one, and so I drew a lot of inspiration from stuff like that, because I wanted to kind of be different from what the main thing going on right now in Texas is, and I love it. You got these dudes who are killer, the ones that Parker's going to play with. I'm not that cool to go play with them just yet, but. But I love their music, but I was like, man, they're doing what they're doing, and they're doing it good. And I won't be able to do it like that. So I need to come and bring up my own little...
Yeah, your own sound.
Yeah, and show up, because, Coetzel's badass, but I'm not Coetzel, and Coetzel's not me. So we'll just... We'll do it different, and maybe we'll play a show together one of these days, and he'll have his crowd of people who are ready to see some of that, like, Texas country rock stuff. And then there will be a bunch of, like... anarchist hippie cats show up to see me, and that'd be a beautiful fucking thing.
Yeah, I definitely think that anarchist, hippie, punk rock, but also big-hearted, broken but filled with love, that's definitely your demographic and your whole vibe with your whole music. So
I like people who have face tattoos but like volunteer at nursing homes. Like
exactly.
that's what I'm aiming for, you know.
And
they're out there. I've met them.
That's a bigger crowd than most people think.
Yeah, and I've met them, and they've been at shows, and they've came and showed love and bought me a drink, and I've made some pretty decent buddies. Playing in College Station was crazy because that's because Parker lives down there, and Parker's badass, and Parker will draw a crowd, and so everybody showed up to see Parker, and he killed it. And he put on a show when he had his full band, and I was out there partying with the crowd and whatnot. And everybody in that bar came up to Parker afterwards and told him how great he was. But 15 people came up to me after I opened for him and told him how I changed their life that night. And I was like, well, this is the best night of my life. I don't care what happens now. We're in business.
Yeah, you're like a punk rock evangelist. You're out here saving lives.
Yeah, I'm just trying to spread the gospel, souls, man.
Right? So
there's a Parker Ryan shirt.
Right. Yeah, I think this is going to be where I stand in as a sound or a music stand for you.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, so we'll see, in this video, there's going to be multiple different times, multiple different days, and even multiple different areas that were recorded. So tell me about the process of going from you have the lyrics, you have the song, to putting it out for the public to hear. What's kind of the work and the process that goes on between those 2 points?
Well, what I like to do, what my goal is, and it's kind of the opposite of a lot of people that I've talked to about it, is if I write a song, I want to go and play it a lot in front of people, and then if I go and I play it and people like it, and people are asking when they'll be able to hear it somewhere other than at a show, then we'll record it. but I didn't have really the opportunity to do it with this one because there wasn't a lot of shows being booked while I was writing these songs. And then about the time they opened everything up to go and play, we were recording.
Yeah.
And so I didn't book anything for a few weekends while we were recording it. And I told Ethan, because he was like, "Are you ready to record this album?" I said, "Man, I got to be honest with you. No, I've never played these songs. They're just poems right now, and I kind of have an okay idea of what I want them to sound like, but I haven't done it yet." And he was like, "Well, just come on over. We'll sit down, we'll look at them, and we'll figure out how they're gonna sound." And so we did, and I was a nervous wreck about it because it was the opposite of how I like to do things.
Yeah.
But I mean, it worked out, and that's why just a second ago I kissed Ethan on the forehead because I was like, you know what, you're right, you crazy son of a bitch, you did it. And it was just it was a little nerve wracking, but I like to play it in front of people and kind of get a feel for how it's going to play out. And if I start a song and I go and play it in front of people and it doesn't feel right, then we'll go back to the drawing board and do something about it.
That's very interesting because that's similar, and I know you are a huge fan of comedy and stand-up comedians. That's pretty much how they do their whole thing.
Exactly.
They write what they want to write, and before they go and put it in wax or put it, on a special, they go and they kind of work it out on smaller crowds and on these little venues.
You go to the
just
comedy
get the vibe,
store or whatever and go do 3 a.m. 5 minutes. Or,
But that's very interesting. I don't know if I'm sure there's other artists that do that in the same way. There has to be, but that is a very interesting approach, and I think lends a lot to kind of your music, because not only are you writing this music and it's coming from you, but also you love the people and you love the people who are listening to your songs.
Yeah,
so you want to make it fit
about
them and be the best for them.
Yeah, I record stuff so I can send it out and people will hear it and be like, I want to go see that guy play. I would never even think about sitting back and living off of royalties, even if I hit one of my songs just made it big and I was getting paid $1 million a week by Spotify or something. There ain't no way I'm gonna not play shows. At that point I'll be playing 300 dates a year because that's what I love to do.
Right. Even if it is just on rooftops, and random venues.
Yeah, I played right here in this apartment where we're recording in this video. The last time, what am I doing? My eye itches. A couple of times before this that I'd went over there, it was just me and Ethan, and we were sitting out. I kept messing up a song. I don't even remember what we were recording, but I couldn't get it right. And so we went outside to smoke a cigarette, and I was going to have a drink and smoke a cigarette and just kind of calm down. And so we went out there, and I see this just gaggle of frat boys walking from Northgate over there at the bars, and so Ethan's like, go get your guitar and start playing. And I was like, man, I don't want to be that guy who's like, hey guys, what's up, man? But I was like, fuck it, it'll be fun. And so I started playing, and by the time I finished my first song, there was like 30 frat boys down at the bottom of his balcony, and they were like, hey bro, you want a natty? And they threw me a natty, and I didn't know this, but Natty makes fruity beers now. Oh. They threw me a fruity natty.
Oh, wow.
And I caught it, and I was expecting, good old natty ice. Yeah. And I was like, this shit tastes like fruit punch. So I said, throw me a couple more. And they threw 2 more up there, and I caught them, and Steve Austin them right there, and just dumped beer all over myself. They're, hell yeah!
Gosh.
And so I kept playing, and then after like 3 songs, they were like, is it alright if we just come up there? And I was like, this ain't my house. And Ethan was like, get your asses up here. And I played about an hour for like 30 frat boys and a couple of their girlfriends or whatever. And we killed a couple cases of fruity natties and talked about life, and then they started chanting or whatever frat boys do, and then they went home, and it was so much fun. At that point I hadn't played a show in a long time because it was during the quarantine and whatnot, and I mean it felt good to have some sense of of normal again. You know, it'd been a while
Yeah.
since anybody had yelled at me while I was playing.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so now that, you know, kind of quarantine is coming to an end and, you know, shows and gigs are going back on, I know you do have some shows coming up, but do you think that this is going to be able to inspire and help, you know, maybe the next album? Do you have any songs in the cans or any plans for a new project in the near future?
Well, we actually went to a big kid studio and recorded a single I wrote. It's actually the first song that I've written about something that didn't exactly happen to me. But it's called Ada, and it's gonna come out. It's gonna be my first full band project and my first single that I've ever released. Because I've always been an album guy.
Yeah.
But studios are expensive, so we're gonna put out a single for now and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, we went and so we're gonna drop that hopefully by the end of the summer. You know, sometime late August, early September would be my thinking. But yeah, we went out to Commerce and Ethan, you know, came and bossed everybody around. Tyler Thompson, who's a genius, a musician, producer, engineer, everything like that. He was on the board for us, and then of course you know, Parker came and played guitar for me, because now that I have a resident professional, I like to use him as often as possible.
Right.
And then my buddy Travis came and took pictures, so it was
Ayo.
and some videos, and so it was all good times. But I think we did some magical shit in that studio personally, so I'm excited for it to come out and for everybody to hear it.
Yeah, so you have that studio session. I know that it is expensive, so you are starting off with a single, but are there any other songs that you have written that you're working out or wanting to kind of showcase at these shows, or are we just waiting for that inspiration?
I got a couple of ideas that I've started working on, and I kind of lost steam on it. I've had a little bit of writer's block as of late, and I've been kind of doing stuff for other projects, you know, and trying to help out some buddies do some stuff, and that I won't get into because I'll let them explain themselves whenever it all comes out. But I've been trying to. My attention's kind of been all over the place, and so I'm waiting for the inspiration to really hit to finish these couple ideas that I have.
Yeah.
But I have about 4 that are halfway written.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, for somebody who just put out an album and has already recorded a single, I think that's definitely, you know, you're ahead of the game. Even if you don't have, you know, 4 songs ready to write and record again, you know, you're out here still grinding for sure.
Well, you know, I saw this video on a YouTube channel, Jim's on VHS, and it was Charlie Crockett, and he said something that stuck with me, and so now I use it all the time just as a guide to life. But he said you best keep moving unless you get left behind, and so that's why I'm like, man, I don't care if we're in the studio. If I get an idea, I'll write it down right then, and we'll try to build off of it as time goes on. And if it doesn't happen, and if that particular song doesn't work out, and I get an idea for another song, and I'm like just missing a line, I'll go through all them scrap songs that I have and see what I can find.
Well, that's smart, man. Well, do you have any sort of closing comments or remarks on the process or the album itself of Punchy Shirts and Broken Hearts?
Man, I'm really proud of what we did. I'm appreciative of everybody who was there to help with it, you know, and I'm just really happy with everything that turned out, and I appreciate the support I've gotten from everybody listening, and I just hope it keeps going, because I think a lot of people that have listened to it have liked it. You know, nobody sent me a message and told me that I was suck and should kill myself yet. So, you know, and I hope it keeps going, and if it can help some dude in, you know, Vermont or whatever, then let's get it to Vermont so he can hear it. But yeah, I'm just really proud of it. I'm really appreciative of it. So I guess that's pretty much all I got to say about it, you know, and just I look forward to continuing to do more music and come up with more ideas, and hopefully people will like those too. And I'll keep doing it until I put out a song and 100% of the people who listen to it send me a message say, hey, it's time to retire. And then I'll start writing, I don't know, those comedy songs.
Right.
Something.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Well, all right, man. Well, we appreciate you sitting down and talking to us about the whole album and, you know, going over this little documentary that we're shooting for it.
Absolutely. I'm glad we got to do this, man. It's cool. I don't like to see myself on TV because I'm an ugly son of a bitch, but you know, it's still fun.
Yeah, you look like a country Eazy-E.
Yeah,
just in the
East
studio.
Texas Eazy-E, man.
There you go. All right.